The story begins deep inside a dense forest, where a troop of chimpanzees is living peacefully. Everything seems calm, until suddenly, their leader senses danger. Birds take flight from the trees, and in the very next moment, hunters launch a violent attack. In the chaos, a little chimp tries to escape, but she is captured and locked inside an iron cage. With helpless, teary eyes, she can only watch as the world she once knew is snatched away. Sometime later, the scene shifts to a laboratory. Inside, two scientists, Dr. Will Rodman and his colleague Robert Franklin, are overjoyed. Before them stands the very same chimp, now named Bright Eyes, who has just passed a highly complex intelligence test. Will is ecstatic. Without wasting a moment, he rushes to his boss, Stephen Jacobs, and announces that their 5-year-long project, ALZ-112, has finally succeeded. Will explains that this virus could potentially cure Alzheimer's disease in humans. Excited by the news, Jacobs immediately sends Will to present his findings to the board of directors. Full of confidence, Will explains how ALZ-112 transformed Bright Eyes from an ordinary chimp into a brilliant, almost genius-level being. Everything appears perfect until disaster strikes. Bright Eyes is brought in for a major presentation, but the moment she sees the tranquilizer being prepared, she panics. Franklin tries calming her down with her favorite drink, but nothing works. Suddenly, while the boardroom meeting is still in progress, Bright Eyes bursts through the doors in a frenzy. The board members mistake it as an attack. Security opens fire and riddles her with bullets, killing her on the spot. The room falls silent in shock. Stephen Jacobs, furious, immediately orders the termination of all chimps in the project. Franklin pleads for mercy, but Jacobs remains unmoved. To him, the animals' lives are meaningless. Only the project and its profits matter. Will begs for at least one more chance to prove ALZ-112's worth, but Jacobs refuses. Just then, Franklin discovers something in Bright Eye's cage, a tiny newborn chimp. Only then does everyone realize the truth. Bright Eyes had gone on a rampage because she was protecting her baby. Jacobs coldly orders the killing of the rest of the chimps, including the infant. But Franklin cannot bring himself to kill the innocent creature. Left with no choice, Will takes the baby home with him. At home, Will's father, Charles, lights up with joy when he sees the tiny chimp. But Charles' health is deteriorating. Alzheimer's has taken a heavy toll, leaving him forgetful and fragile. That night, when the baby cries, Will gently bathes him and rocks him to sleep in his arms. The moment the little chimp grasps Will's finger, an unspoken bond forms between them, a bond filled with hope. Soon, Will notices something unusual. The baby chimp eats on his own and has a striking green shimmer in his eyes. Time flies, and 3 years later, the little one has grown. Will names him Caesar. By now, Caesar has become the most important part of Will's life. Caesar isn't just living like a human, he's showing remarkable intelligence. He solves difficult puzzles with ease and has his own space in the attic, where he often sits by the window, curiously watching the outside world. Meanwhile, Will continues documenting Caesar's intelligence. One day, loud noises from upstairs catch his attention. He rushes up and finds his father Charles arguing with his nurse. In a fit of anger, Charles knocks over a lamp. Frustrated, the nurse quits on the spot and suggests sending Charles to a nursing home. Hearing this breaks Will's heart. Determined not to let it happen, he secretly takes a vial of ALZ-112 from the lab and injects it into his father. Unknown to him, Caesar silently watches everything. The next morning, a miracle occurs. Charles's mind regains its sharpness. He plays the piano again, his fingers dancing over the keys as if years had rolled back. Watching this, Will's eyes well up with tears of joy. But Caesar's curiosity is also growing. From his window, he watches neighborhood kids ride bicycles, and the desire to experience the outside world only intensifies. One day, Caesar sneaks into a neighbor's shed and discovers a bicycle. Just as he tries to ride it, the neighbor, Douglas, spots him. Furious, Douglas picks up a stick and chases Caesar. Terrified, Caesar runs, but in the process, he gets injured. Just then, Will arrives and rescues Caesar. To treat his injuries, he takes him to Caroline Aranha, a veterinarian. During the treatment, Caroline is amazed by Caesar's calm nature and his ability to use sign language. Will explains the meanings behind Caesar's gestures, and through these moments, the two begin to grow closer. Sometime later, Will shows Caroline the attic room he has built for Caesar. She is touched by the care Will provides, but she also warns him that Caesar's future won't be safe living among humans. Caroline loves Caesar dearly, but deep down she fears for him. Hearing this, Caesar playfully pretends to beat up Will, making everyone laugh. Caroline suggests that Caesar needs more open space. With that, they head to Muir Woods, where Caesar experiences the wilderness for the very first time. When Will unhooks his leash, Caesar raises his hand as if asking for permission. Smiling, Caroline tells Will He's asking for your approval. Will extends his hand, and in that moment, Caesar runs joyfully into the forest. He climbs high into the trees and for the first time feels the freedom of open air. Watching him, Will finally feels at peace. Time passes. 5 years later, Caesar has grown older and stronger. By now, he has developed a deep attachment to Muir Woods. He climbs the tallest trees and gazes out at the San Francisco skyline in the distance. Meanwhile, Will's relationship with Caroline continues to grow, but Caesar occasionally feels jealous. He often teases them playfully, interrupting their moments together. One day, while returning home, Caesar encounters a barking dog. Annoyed, he lets out a piercing scream that instantly silences the dog. Afterwards, Caesar asks Will through signs, "Am I just a pet?" Will gently assures him, "No, you're my son." But Caesar struggles to believe it. To ease his doubts, Will takes him to Genesis Labs and reveals the truth about his mother, Bright Eyes. He explains how she was brought here, subjected to experiments, and how Will himself had used the same drug, ALZ-112, on his father, Charles. What Will hadn't realized back then was that the drug would gift Caesar with extraordinary intelligence. He further explains that ALZ-112 was designed to repair broken cells in the human brain. But in Caesar's case, it had created a superbrain. Caroline then asks, "But where does Caesar fit into all this?" Will responds that his research could change the lives of millions suffering from Alzheimer's. Caesar, overhearing everything from the attic, is shaken to the core. The next morning, disturbed by the truth, Caesar refuses to eat breakfast. His mind is clouded with this revelation. Meanwhile, Charles' condition begins to worsen again. The Alzheimer's is returning. Caesar helps him whenever he can, but a silent worry lingers in both his and Will's eyes. Tests reveal that Charles' body has developed antibodies against the drug. One day, Charles accidentally leaves the house and gets into the neighbor Douglas' car, causing it to crash into another vehicle. Furious, Douglas harshly scolds the confused old man. Watching from the attic window, Caesar boils with rage. He rushes outside and attacks Douglas, unleashing his fury in full for the first time. His scream echoes as he bites off one of Douglas's fingers. Just then, Charles yells, "Stop, Caesar!" At the sound of his voice, Caesar snaps back to his senses. Overcome with guilt, he runs into Charles's arms, hiding his face in regret. Onlookers stand frozen in shock and fear. Following this incident, Caesar is sent away to a private primate sanctuary run by John Landon and his son Dodge. Another caretaker named Rodney also works there. Will worries deeply since Caesar has never lived with other apes before, but Landon assures him that Caesar will adjust quickly. At first, Caesar is thrilled by the vast new environment, but his excitement soon fades into fear and sadness when he realizes Will has left him behind. Again and again, Caesar signs for Will to take him home, but all Will can do is promise he'll return soon. Then Will and Caroline leave, and Caesar, heartbroken, is left standing alone. The moment they're gone, Dodge locks Caesar into a cage, where he is suddenly surrounded on all sides by, inside the sanctuary, Caesar finds himself surrounded by many other apes. Their constant cries and screams create a terrifying atmosphere. Meanwhile, at home, Will repeatedly tries to get Caesar released, but everywhere he turns, he only faces government rules and endless paperwork. After Caesar is sent away, Charles's condition worsens. He slips deeper into depression, forgetting things more often, and misses Caesar terribly. When Will runs more tests, he makes a shocking discovery. The drug's effects have worn off, and Charles' Alzheimer's is returning faster than ever. This breaks Will completely. On one side, Caesar is far away from him, and on the other, his father is deteriorating again. In desperation, Will decides to take a new step. He begins working on a stronger version of the drug. When he admits to Stephen that he had once given the earlier drug to his own father, Stephen doesn't get angry. Instead, he sees it as a massive business opportunity. Driven by greed, Stephen gives him the green light. Soon, a new version is created, ALZ-113, this time designed as an airborne gas. Back at the primate sanctuary, Caesar's suffering only grows. The apes are fed disgusting food. When Caesar angrily throws it back at Dodge, Dodge snaps and blasts him with a high-pressure water hose. Once Dodge leaves, Caesar breaks down. In his loneliness, he scratches the outline of his old attic window onto the wall of his cage, clinging to the memory of home. Meanwhile, trials begin on the new virus at Genesis. The first test subject is a chimp named Koba, but during the test, things go wrong. Panicked, Koba knocks Franklin's mask off, exposing him directly to the gas. At the sanctuary, Caesar has his first encounter with the alpha chimp, Rocket. To assert dominance, Rocket rips Caesar's shirt and slams him to the ground. Caesar quickly escapes up a tree, but Rocket chases after him. They clash fiercely until finally, Caesar falls. At that moment, Dodge arrives and subdues them both with tranquilizers. Back at Genesis, Stephen is thrilled when he sees Koba actually writing his name. What he doesn't realize, however, is that Franklin is gravely ill from exposure to the gas. In the sanctuary, Caesar finds an unexpected ally, Maurice, a wise orangutan who knows sign language. Maurice explains that he once lived in a circus and he warns Caesar to be careful because humans fear intelligent apes. Sometime later, Will and Caroline visit Caesar. Through sign language, Caesar expresses his sadness. Will, furious at Dodge's mistreatment, confronts him, but John Landon arrives and calms things down. When Will insists on taking Caesar home, Landon firmly refuses. Without a court order, it's impossible. Caesar keeps pleading to be taken back, but all Will can do is promise he'll free him soon. After they leave, Caesar's heart shatters. In anger, he wipes away the drawing of his attic window that he had carved into the wall. As he looks around, his eyes fall on a ladder leading up to the skylight. From there, Caesar sees a powerful gorilla named Buck, a beast so strong that he is never allowed out of his cage. Longing for freedom, Caesar gazes through the skylight at the tall city buildings, imagining the open air beyond. Then one day, Dodge and his friends arrive at the sanctuary just for fun, tormenting the apes with electric prods. In that chaos, a careless visitor comes close to the cages. Seizing the chance, Caesar cleverly steals a knife from his hand. That night, Caesar uses the knife to unlock his cage, his very first step toward freedom. Maurice quietly watches, understanding what Caesar is planning. Caesar's next move is to free Buck. At first, the massive gorilla hesitates, but then he lets out a thunderous roar and embraces the taste of freedom for the first time. His cry echoes through the entire sanctuary. Buck, now free, gratefully pledges himself to Caesar. But Caesar doesn't stop there. His next target is Rocket. Instead of fleeing, Caesar stands his ground and challenges him. A fierce fight breaks out and Caesar eventually brings Rocket down. But instead of harming him, Caesar spares him. When Rocket realizes Buck has been freed and sees all the other apes watching Caesar, he understands that a new leader has risen. Defeated, Rocket raises his hand in submission, acknowledging Caesar's leadership. At home, Will tries to give his father Charles the new drug, but Charles refuses. Instead, he peacefully holds Will's hand and falls asleep. The next morning brings a heartbreaking truth. Charles has passed away. Will is shattered. After the funeral, while gathering his father's belongings, he finds an old photograph of himself with Caesar, flooding him with memories. With Charles gone, Will feels broken inside. Caroline gently comforts him, saying that some things are beyond our control, and we must learn to accept them. Meanwhile, Will learns that Stephen, driven by greed for quick profit, has rushed the human trials of the new drug ALZ-113. Will warns him that it could have dangerous side effects on people, but Stephen cruelly reminds him that he himself had experimented on his own father. Stunned into silence, Will decides to step away from the project altogether. Elsewhere, Franklin's condition worsens. Desperate for help, he comes to Will's house, but Will isn't home. Instead, Franklin encounters the neighbor, Douglas. In the chaos, blood sprays onto Douglas's face, a chilling sign of what's coming. Back at the sanctuary, Will tries one more time to bring Caesar home, even offering John Landon money to release him. But when he finally meets Caesar, a painful moment unfolds. Caesar still feels betrayed. He turns his back on Will and chooses to remain in his cage. But deep inside, Caesar's mind is changing. He begins to plan. His first move, he signals Rocket to distribute biscuits among the other apes. A small gesture, but the first step in winning their trust. The next day, when the apes are gathered, Maurice asks Caesar about his plan. Caesar replies, "One ape alone is weak, but together, no one can stop us." Maurice chuckles and says, "Apes are stupid." That remark echoes in Caesar's mind, sparking a new resolve. Soon he notices Rodney entering the access code every time he opens the gates. Caesar memorizes it. That night, he uses the code to slip out of his cage. Quietly, he escapes the sanctuary and makes his way to Will's house. There, while Will and Caroline sleep, Caesar sneaks inside and finds the vial of the new drug. He realizes that this is the key to elevating the other apes' intelligence. Without disturbing anyone, he takes the drug and returns to the sanctuary. The next morning, Caesar exposes the other apes to the drug. One by one, their eyes begin to glow green, the unmistakable sign that their intelligence is now far beyond human comprehension. John Landon notices their unusual behavior, but dismisses it as nothing. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, tragedy strikes. Franklin is found dead in his bed, his body covered in blood. At the sanctuary, the rebellion finally ignites. When Dodge insults Caesar, calling him a dirty ape, Caesar shocks the world. He speaks his first human word, "No." Everyone is stunned. Caesar then overpowers Dodge and begins freeing the other apes. When Rodney tries to stop him, Caesar doesn't kill him. Instead, he locks him in a cage, but Dodge regains consciousness and lunges with a taser. Caesar counters by blasting him with high-pressure water, electrocuting him. Dodge is killed instantly. Now the path is clear. Caesar and the apes climb out through the skylight. Two groups form, one led by Caesar, the other by Buck. The uprising has begun. The next morning, Will senses something is terribly wrong when he sees signs of chaos in Caesar's attic room. Unable to contact the sanctuary, he and Caroline rush there, only to be met with horror. The place is in ruins. Dodge's corpse lies on the ground, and shattered vials of ALZ-113 are scattered everywhere. Then Caroline finds Rodney locked in a cage. Shaken, he tells them, "Caesar spoke." Both Will and Caroline are stunned. Meanwhile, across the city, crowds watch in disbelief as an army of apes sweeps forward, moving swiftly through the treetops. At their head is Caesar, leading them straight toward the Genesis lab. At Genesis Labs, chaos erupts as Caesar and his army storm the building. They smash through the facility and release every caged ape, including Koba. Meanwhile, Steven receives a shocking call. Franklin's death was caused by the ALZ-113 virus. Panicked, he rushes to the office, only to find the lobby in ruins and apes standing menacingly above. Terrified, he flees into a helicopter. Across town, at the zoo, families are enjoying their day when suddenly Buck smashes through the cages. Other apes pour out, arming themselves with iron bars. Together, they join Caesar's forces and launch their assault on the city. Panic spreads through the streets. Buildings shatter, cars overturn, and chaos reigns. When animal control captures one of the apes, Caesar and his army respond with fury, hurling spears at the truck and rescuing their comrade. The ape uprising shakes the entire city. The police arrive quickly, but the apes are ready. Maurice hurls a massive metal lid onto a squad car, and Buck flings it high into the air, scattering the officers. From above the cable cars, Caesar and his army fix their gaze on the Golden Gate Bridge. Ahead, traffic is blocked, and armed forces stand ready. Caesar knows the battle is inevitable. On the far side of the bridge, Will and Caroline have also arrived. They realize the apes are not seeking destruction. They're heading for the forest. But above them, Steven's helicopter circles, and the order is given. Launch a deadly strike. Caesar halts his army and quickly devises a plan. Some apes climb over the top of the bridge, others crawl beneath. The humans don't realize where the attack will come from. As the soldiers unleash a hail of gunfire, the battle begins. Caesar and Buck charge head-on into the police lines. Bullets thunder, apes roar, and human screams echo. Blood stains the bridge as it becomes a war zone. Then the fog rolls in. The humans can't see, but Caesar uses it to his advantage, pushing his army forward behind the cover of a bus. Overhead, the helicopter rains bullets. In a moment of sacrifice, Buck leaps onto the helicopter to protect Caesar. With a massive blow, he brings it crashing down onto the bridge in a fiery explosion. Caesar rushes to Buck's side. Gravely wounded, Buck grips Caesar's hand and silently passes leadership to him with a final look. Buck dies, and Caesar is left heartbroken but resolute. From the wreckage, Steven cries out for help, but Caesar only glares at him with fury, then turns away, leading his army toward the forest. Koba emerges from the fog, eyes blazing with rage. With a savage snarl, he kicks the broken helicopter wreckage into the abyss, sending Steven screaming to his death. Meanwhile, Will commandeers a police car and follows Caesar into the forest. He calls out to him, but Koba suddenly lunges in attack. Caesar immediately roars, "Stop!" Koba freezes, intimidated, and retreats. Will pleads, "Please, come home with me. I can protect you." Caesar steps forward, gently holds Will's hand, and softly speaks. Caesar is home. Will is stunned. This is the first time he has ever heard Caesar speak in full human language. Tears well in his eyes, but he understands. This is Caesar's world now. With quiet acceptance, he bows his head. Caesar returns to his army. They look at him with pride. He has become their true leader. Climbing to the highest branches, Caesar gazes one last time at San Francisco. The dream of freedom has finally been fulfilled. But the story does not end here. At the airport, Douglas, the angry neighbor, prepares to board his flight. Suddenly, blood drips from his nose. Carelessly, he wipes it away and moves on, unaware that a deadly virus is incubating inside him. That virus, born from ALZ-113, will soon spread across the globe. It will become known as the simian flu, marking the beginning of humanity's downfall. And thus begins the next chapter, the second part of this saga, released in 2014. The story now leaps forward 10 years. The apes are no longer just animals. They've evolved into a fully intelligent society. They have their own language, their own community, and a bond stronger than most humans ever shared. They hunt together, protect one another, and live as a true family. At the heart of this community stands their leader, Caesar, alongside his son, Blue Eyes. After returning from a hunt on horseback, the apes ride back into their home, an extraordinary ape village deep in the forest. Wooden houses, tools for hunting, writing, even the ability to control fire. This is no ordinary settlement. its civilization. There, Caesar is greeted with joy as he sees his newborn child, sharing the moment with blue eyes. Later, he speaks with his trusted friend Maurice, the wise orangutan who teaches the young ones. Maurice asks if Caesar ever misses humans. Caesar pauses, admitting softly, "Sometimes, but humans fight among themselves. Apes stay together. That is our strength." In his heart, Caesar believes humans may have gone extinct. But Maurice reminds him, just because they haven't been seen for 10 years doesn't mean they're gone. That warning proves true when, during a hunt, some apes suddenly encounter a real human. Panicked, the man pulls out a gun and fires, wounding one of the apes. Furious, the entire ape tribe rushes to the scene. They discover the human was not alone. He is part of a group led by a man named Malcolm. Malcolm desperately tries to calm things down, explaining they meant no harm. But when his eyes meet Caesar's, he realizes this ape is different. This one is a leader. Before more words can be exchanged, Caesar lets out a thunderous roar. His command is clear: leave now. The humans retreat in fear, one of them dropping a bag in their escape. Maurice picks it up and hands it to Caesar. Suspicious, Caesar sends his most trusted but resentful lieutenant, Koba, along with a few others, to follow the humans and find out where they're hiding. The humans return to their quarantine zone where their leader Dreyfus and several soldiers wait. Malcolm explains what they saw. The apes are not just smart, they're organized, they're evolving. Dreyfus, shocked, warns Malcolm to keep it secret, fearing panic. Meanwhile, Malcolm's wife Ellie, once a doctor, points out another chilling truth. The few humans who survived the virus outbreak are only alive because they were immune. Back in the ape village, Caesar holds a council meeting. Some apes, angered by the gunshot, want immediate war against the humans. But Caesar keeps his composure. If war begins, everything we have built will be destroyed. Not everyone agrees. Koba, scarred by years of torture at human hands, seethes with hatred. He argues humans can never be trusted. To prove his point and to protect his people, Caesar makes a bold move. He marches his army to the human settlement. Their entry is overwhelming, an entire army of apes riding horses and filling the streets. Humans tremble in fear, but curiosity draws many out of hiding. Caesar speaks clearly: "We do not want war, but if you threaten us, we will defend ourselves." Before leaving, he returns the bag the humans dropped, but leaves them with a chilling warning: "Stay away." The camp falls into panic. Many believe an attack is inevitable. Dreyfus addresses the crowd, insisting they'll find another way to generate power. But later, in private, Malcolm tells him the truth. There is only one way: the dam. Without it, there will be no electricity, no radio contact with the rest of the world. Dreyfus, grim-faced, admits the obvious: they will have to confront the apes to secure it. But Malcolm refuses to accept bloodshed. He makes a desperate deal: "Give me 3 days. I'll convince Caesar." The fact he returned our bag proves he is not like the others. Dreyfus reluctantly agrees, but warns, "If you fail, war will come." With time running out, Malcolm prepares for his mission. Taking Ellie and his son Alexander with him, he sets off into the forest. One rainy evening, they finally reach the edge of the ape territory. As Malcolm and his team approach the ape settlement, he told the others to stay behind. "If I don't return in 2 hours, go back," he instructed. Moving ahead alone, Malcolm was suddenly seized by a group of furious apes who dragged him before the entire tribe. Raising his hands, Malcolm surrendered and assured them he hadn't come for a fight. Just then, Caesar emerged. Malcolm began explaining that he had something important to show. Caesar silenced the crowd and agreed to listen. Soon, Malcolm, Caesar, and a few apes headed toward the dam. There, Malcolm explained how the dam could generate electricity, something that could restore human life back on track. To Malcolm's surprise, Caesar actually agreed. He understood the humans only wanted power, not conflict. Malcolm promised they wouldn't harm the apes and even offered himself as a guarantee. Caesar accepted, but on one condition: all weapons must be surrendered. The humans complied. Back in the ape village, Koba was far from pleased. He feared giving humans power would eventually endanger the apes. But Caesar insisted that maintaining peace was their true strength. Furious, Koba revealed the scars left by human cruelty and argued they couldn't be trusted. Caesar cut him off sharply, reminding him who gave the orders here. The next day, Malcolm and his crew began working on the dam, while Caesar kept a close watch. Meanwhile, Koba secretly snuck into the human colony with some followers. There, he discovered a warehouse stacked with weapons. When 2 guards caught him, Koba pretended to be a foolish, harmless ape. The guards laughed and let him go. Back at the dam, disaster struck. Malcolm's team was trapped under debris, some badly injured. Caesar and his apes rushed to help, pulling them out. Malcolm thanked Caesar and pleaded for more time to finish the work. But then a crisis erupted. Caesar's young son wandered near the humans and found a hidden gun inside Carver's bag. Shock spread instantly. Enraged, Carver pulled out a shotgun and aimed it at the apes. Caesar snapped, knocking him down and seizing the weapon. He then pointed it at Malcolm, reminding him that guns were forbidden here. Yet instead of bloodshed, Caesar hurled the weapon into the river and ordered the humans to leave. As Malcolm and Ellie prepared to depart, they noticed Caesar's wife was gravely ill. Ellie offered to help, and Caesar, moved by her compassion, granted the humans one more day, and even sent some apes to assist them. However, he locked Carver inside a truck to prevent further trouble. Meanwhile, Koba returned with alarming news of the humans' weapons. Furious, he stormed to the dam and began intimidating Malcolm's son, Alexander. Tension spiked, but Maurice stepped in, unexpectedly siding with the humans. Caesar arrived soon after. Koba lashed out, accusing Caesar of trusting humans too much. Enraged, Caesar attacked Koba, nearly choking him to death, yet stopped himself, bound by the rule that apes must not kill apes. Koba, cowed, begged forgiveness. That night, Koba secretly spoke to Blue Eyes, trying to poison his mind. Trusting humans will get us all killed, he warned. He urged Blue Eyes to protect Caesar. The following day, Maurice bonded with Alexander, who gifted him a book, sparking an unlikely friendship. Koba, however, crept back to the human settlement. Finding two guards drinking, he again pretended to be a foolish ape, but this time he gunned them down and stole their weapons. At the dam, Malcolm's team finally succeeded. The generator roared to life. Electricity returned at last. That night, everyone stopped at a gas station, where they found an abandoned store. Music played, laughter filled the air, and for a moment, peace seemed possible. Malcolm told Caesar they had kept their promise and would now return. Caesar trusted him and shook his hand, but elsewhere, Carver sat alone in anger. Koba approached him, seething. The humans soon reached their colony, where lights blazed and celebrations erupted. People cheered. Their world seemed to be coming back. Dreyfus and his team even re-established radio contact with other settlements. But in the shadows, Caesar was being watched. Koba raised a gun, shot him, and quickly vanished. Caesar collapsed. Everyone believed he was dead. One of Koba's allies set homes ablaze, plunging the apes into chaos. Maurice grasped the danger, rushing Malcolm and his family to safety. Koba seized the moment. He spread lies that humans had shot Caesar. Furious, he declared himself the new leader and ordered the apes to prepare for war. Meanwhile, inside the human city, the people were still celebrating, unaware of the storm about to descend upon them. But happiness doesn't last long. Out of the fog, the apes suddenly appear on horseback like warriors. Koba launches an assault on the humans' armory, seizing their guns and returning with firepower. As the apes charge, the humans open fire. Bullets rain down and a brutal battle erupts. The humans are fewer in number, but they fight fiercely. Dreyfus even fires a rocket launcher trying to stop Koba. For a moment, the apes hesitate, but sheer numbers soon overwhelm the humans. Then a tank rolls in, blasting apes apart. But Koba manages to climb aboard, seize control, and turn the weapon against the humans. Dreyfus watches in shock. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Malcolm and his group discover a wounded Caesar. They realize it wasn't humans who shot him, it was Koba. Quickly, they hide Caesar and carry him to safety. At the same time, Koba's rage crosses all limits. He drags Ash, the young ape who had refused to kill a human, up to a high platform. Without mercy, Koba hurls him over the railing to his death. This act sends a chilling warning to all. Koba is the only leader now. Soon after, Koba imprisons the remaining humans in cages and sends patrols to capture any others still hiding. Meanwhile, Malcolm's team shelters Caesar inside an old house, Caesar's childhood home. There, Malcolm realizes Caesar once lived with humans. But Caesar is gravely injured, and Malcolm must sneak back into the human colony to get medicine for surgery. He succeeds in stealing the supplies, but on his way out, apes corner him. Just then, an armed figure steps forward, Blue Eyes. When Blue Eyes learns that his father is still alive, he spares Malcolm and helps him escape. Together, they return to Caesar. Father and son share an emotional reunion. Caesar admits his mistake. He trusted Koba too much and misjudged the humans. Blue Eyes, in turn, reveals that Morris and the loyal apes have been imprisoned, and that Koba murdered Ash. Rage and grief fuel Caesar's resolve. He must stop Koba. Blue Eyes promises to fight at his father's side. The next day, Blue Eyes devises a clever plan. He tricks the guards into entering, where Morris and the others overpower them. Soon, both apes and humans are freed. The spark of rebellion is lit. Later, Caesar wanders through his old home and finds a camera. Watching it, he relives precious moments with his human friend Will. Malcolm joins him and they talk. Soon, Blue Eyes and the others arrive with urgent news. Koba is preparing for a massive attack. The group rushes toward the colony. Along the way, Malcolm encounters Dreyfus, who reveals his plan to blow up the tower. Malcolm points a gun at him, pleading to give Caesar a chance. On the tower, Caesar and Koba finally face each other. A savage fight begins. At first, Koba dominates, but Caesar regains his strength. Lifting an iron ladder, Caesar growls that considering Koba a brother was his greatest mistake. Koba snarls back, claiming he fights only for apes. But Caesar counters that Koba fights only for power. Furious, Koba presses the attack. Caesar, though wounded, seizes an opening, striking Koba's injuries and gaining the upper hand. At the same time, Malcolm fails to stop Dreyfus. Dreyfus detonates explosives beneath the tower. The massive blast shakes the entire structure, killing many apes and Dreyfus himself. On the collapsing tower, Caesar and Koba's battle grows deadlier. Koba grabs a gun and fires, wounding Maurice. Enraged, Caesar unleashes his fury, slamming Koba and sending him over the edge. Koba dangles from a fragile platform, screaming for mercy. "Ape not kill ape," he pleads. Caesar hesitates, taking Koba's hand as if to save him. But seeing his wounded comrades below, he realizes Koba no longer belongs among them. Slowly, Caesar lets go. Koba plummets to his death. Down below, Caesar gathers the surviving apes. Malcolm is brought forward, but Caesar immediately orders his release. Malcolm warns that a human army is on its way and begs Caesar to flee with his tribe. But Caesar knows it's too late. This war cannot be stopped, not anymore. He admits the fault lies with both sides. "Humans will never forgive us now," he says gravely. In a final, emotional moment, Caesar embraces Malcolm and tells him to run far and fast. Malcolm returns to his family while Caesar stands tall before his people. The apes bow in respect. Caesar has become their true leader, and he knows a greater war is coming. And that sets the stage for the third chapter, where the real war between humans and apes will finally erupt. And trust me, humanity's deadliest move is still waiting to unfold. If you're excited to see what happens next, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss part 3. Let's aim for 200 likes on this one. Your support keeps me motivated to bring you the next breakdown even faster. I'll catch you in the next video.